At this time, I'd like to open up questions if you have any, and afterwards I'll direct some questions to Mr. Heist once you're completed with questions directly to her.
So is she still in Florida? Is she going to stay there? And what were the charges that she turned herself in on?
She is in Florida. She's going to be traveling to the northern end of Florida to stay with her brother for just a little bit, and eventually she's planning on going to Texas to live with her mother, who's going to care for her there. And as far as the charges that are pending for her down there, that's to be determined. It has to do with false identification and unsworn falsifications to officers, those type of charges. But I believe that that's under a different name, and it has to do with probation, adult probation down there.
Lee, have you spoken to her, or has she spoken to the children?
No.
And how are the children at this point? Can this just be?
They have some issues to deal with, but I believe after all these years they're quite strong. Still an awful lot of questions to answer.
Can you explain, Mr. Heist, your reaction when you heard that she was alive? Like your emotions, your reaction, your thoughts?
Certainly very mixed. On behalf of the children, I think it was a good thing, really a good thing, having not known for all these years for sure. For myself, I'm still working through that on a personal level, but again, the children are the most important thing right now, and so.
Mr. Heist.
Lee, does it surprise you that she would make a move like this and even go about living a homeless lifestyle?
I believe it certainly shocked me, and I'm sure it shocked everybody that knows her.
Mr. Heist, I assume that standard that you were at least looked at as a potential suspect. Can you talk about the effect that this had on your life, both in the immediate aftermath of her disappearance and over the years?
Well, I certainly think in the beginning I was very surprised, and I guess as any innocent person would be. It was something I learned to have to deal with, but I tried to cooperate as much as possible, and I think the issue that I really came to haunt me was the fact that there were people in the neighborhood who would not allow their children to play with my children because of what they perceived I might be. And that hurt me more than just about anything else. I think most of the questions, thanks to Detective Schofield, have been pretty much answered. Any other questions really are going to deal with the children, and I want to leave that up to them.
Sure. What was Brenda's condition when you saw her in Florida, health-wise, mentally, emotionally? What was her status when she came forward to police?
When I met her on Monday morning, she looked as if she let herself go. She looked as if she wasn't out caring for herself. She seemed mentally fine. In speaking with me, I had a long conversation. She was very cognitive. Her mental state seemed to be fine to me. But her physical appearance showed that it was absolutely consistent with living on the streets for several years.
Okay.
Do you think any drugs were involved?
I don't have any proof of any drugs, and I don't have anything that suggests that. When I spoke to her about that, she told me that she's never had an issue with anything, any type of hard drugs.
You had mentioned that she's going to go to Florida so her mother can care for her. Why did you word it that way, that she'll be the one being cared for? Is there something wrong with her?
At this point, she has no way to support herself, and so she's going to be going to Texas to be cared for by her mother, and when I say care for, living with her mother and trying to get herself back into society.
And I guess in trying to understand her, maybe Lee, you can answer this best. Was there a history of mental illness, or was she an extreme risk taker? It just seems from the brief profile that we have of her that this was just an extraordinary turn of events for you.
There was an incident before I met her where she told me of leaving her home in Texas, hitchhiking up to Virginia to stay with her grandparents for a while, then continuing a hitchhiking adventure. But after almost 23 years of being together, at no time did I experience any desire or any indication that that might happen again.
Mr. Heist, can you talk about the effect this had on the children? They were young kids at the time. They came home and their mom's missing. There's a potential murder investigation. I mean, what little we've heard from the authorities are they've gone to college. You obviously have a close relationship with them, but I mean, can you sort of talk about them? I mean, they're kind of like the victims in this, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would hope that everyone will remember they are the victims. I give them an awful lot of credit. I think that through everything they went through, beginning with me being a suspect, and I addressed that with them continually, and I asked at any time if they felt any insecurity being with me or anything, and I was assured continually that no, they knew that I was there and that I loved them and that I would take care of them. But I have to give them the credit that they actually really pulled themselves together. We as a family answered questions openly and honestly, and we dealt with the issues one-on-one. And as things began to move away from me, certainly that made it a lot easier for them. But we experienced the loss of a house and car and job and unemployment for over a year and a half, meaning we lost everything. We moved into assisted housing. So, and they rolled with it. They got pulled up from their schools, were put into new schools, and so it was not an easy issue, but I have to tell you that I am very, very proud of what they've done. And graduating from college, my son and my daughter's in college now. My son wants to go into law enforcement. My daughter wants to become a teacher. So in both ways, they want to help other people, and I, again, just give them all the credit.
Are you angry?
I'm angry on behalf of my children, but they're my concern. So anger really isn't going to accomplish anything. Forgiveness would probably be a better way. So.
I know you've been through so much, going through declaring her dead, and now you were able to collect on the insurance money to give your family something. What happens to that now? Insurance money, her life insurance money, do you know what?
No, I have no idea. I have no earthly idea.
How much was it?
Yeah, that's a question probably best not answered at this point.
No problem.
Yes, sir. Thank
Do
you.
you have a desire to talk to her at all?
At this point, I don't believe so, but that doesn't say there isn't something down the road. My concern is also for her health. So.
I mean, are her and the kids gonna talk at all?
She's expressed a desire to speak to them, and I think as time goes on, they haven't expressed the same desire, but I think it's too early, and they think it's too early, so we'll see what happens.
Yes. Was this one of the biggest cases that you've ever worked on? I mean, obviously it's long-lasting, 11 years. Can you talk about the closure that you feel to have for this or anything like that?
Sure. I mean, it's absolutely the longest case that I've ever worked on. It may not be the biggest case, but it's the longest case. But there is a good feeling knowing that it's closed, knowing that she's actually alive, and that we don't have an unsolved homicide where I feared we had. And sure, as you go through the years with this job, there's always that one case that haunts you, and this has been the one that's haunted me all this time. And so to find out that she's actually alive, it's a good sense knowing that it's closed and we can move on forward now. But it's also, it's angered me because of knowing all of the hours and the days and the weeks and the years of investigation that went on to this, and the dozens of detectives that have put their time into this. So it's it's a good thing that it's over. And yes, we're happy that she's alive and that we can move on now.
What you have to remember is, this case has not left our limelight the entire 11 years. That picture has always been in our office. The cold case, the file has always been there. Any leads that come in, we get on it right away. So it has never really been something that we put on the back burner and just forgot about. So,
Her picture is hanging in your office, or just
it's downstairs. Yeah, I'm sure, you
Yes.
know, if we go to one bulletin board or another, we'll find one. So.
You had mentioned that there's a lot of man hours put into this over the years, and I mean, her doing this cost a lot of money.
Yes, it
Is
did.
there anything that you guys can do to, charges that she can face for that? I mean, is there anything at all that could be done?
I mean, there's no charges for her leaving Pennsylvania. I mean, that's, if there's something to follow through, that'll be handled down the road. But for right now, at this moment, there's nothing at this time.
And when you spoke with her, did she ever say that there was that moment where she thought like she would come forward or contact, if not me, then another relative,
You
to
know-
say that she was fine? I mean, did she ever have that moment?
I asked her that question, and she told me no. She said she's never had access to a computer, and that she's thought about the family and her children every day and her parents and wondered how they were. But she's never acted on that. She's never once made a phone call, never once Googled anyone's name. And I found that surprising, but yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Heist, I've seen reports you remarried, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you're currently married?
Yes, sir.
And again, so, I mean, this would have been a woman who entered a relationship with you with this cloud hanging over the head. I mean, certain amount of trust. Can you talk about that? And also, when you did finally get the court order declaring her officially dead, did you memorialize her? Did you hold a funeral? Anything like that? I mean, what did that generate any sort of commemoration?
As far as my future wife or my current wife, I don't think that's a subject we need to go into. I will tell you that we are just most happily married. I am very blessed having a woman of this nature, and so I think that pretty much in itself sums that part up. As far as the commemoration, it was thought about, but opted not to. We had already been through almost 7.5 years at that time, and at that point we just felt the children were settled and it was no sense to bring it up, although we do recognize the anniversaries.
And how would you do that?
Just by talking.
Yeah.
Got to keep that communication open.
And Mr. Heist, you had mentioned a short while ago the word forgiveness. After what she had put you and your children through, can you forgive her?
There is a difference between forgiveness and forgetting. I forgave her many years ago.
How can you forgive her for something that you didn't even know happened?
If you don't, then you just keep it inside you. It just keeps burning inside you. Doesn't make any sense. I've moved on with my life. We're happy. The kids are doing much better. This is a little bump in the road. We're going to work through it like we've worked through everything else together.
So on the legal side, we're looking at closure, but on your personal side, really, there's not much closure. It's more, it's coming back.
Just momentarily, but it's closure. And I want to just add one thing to your question earlier, that I would like to just personally thank the Liddesboro Police Department, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, especially Detective John Schofield. That man has never let go of this. Has been a bull with it. As he and I became close, he basically has been like a godfather to my daughter, and she just loves him, hopefully almost as much as myself. And but he has really been there when things have gotten where something may have come up that he thought might be of benefit. He let us know. We were always welcome in here and to come talk to them. And my children, if they had a problem or a concern and they just needed to talk to him, he was there. And I don't know of too many other officers who take this much interest in a case. And John, personally, again, in front of everybody, I want to thank you so much for what you've done.
You're more than welcome. And that comes from someone who was my suspect at one time.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. Did you ever specifically clear him? Did you polygraph him and clear him?
Yes, actually, we did polygraph him, and yes, he was cleared.
And how long did that take?
He instantly.
Not instantly.
He was very very open and wanted to assist us in any way he can, and opened up his home to us, opened up whatever we wanted, and he never declined us to an interview. So, yeah.
Mr. Heist, you said that you had lost your job, you had lost your home. Was that all a direct result of this?
Yes.
And how did you lose your job as a result? Because you were considered a suspect?
I actually was working out in Valley Forge, and of course, with having 2 kids, 8 and 12 years old, I didn't have anybody to watch them. I was usually leaving about 6 in the morning and wouldn't get back to almost 6 at night. So it wasn't really an option.
So you quit your job?
I quit my job.
Okay.
How long ago did you guys move out of the Susquehanna Valley?
This is Susquehanna Valley.
How long ago did you move out of Lancaster County?
Okay, 2009.
2009,
Yes.
thank you.
Where do you live now?
Montgomery County.
Okay.
I mean, have you thought of any other sort of fallout from this? I don't know, like you want to return belongings to her? I mean, is there anything like that that's kind of going through your head as you're trying to process this in the last couple of days?
Most of the things were returned after an extended period of time of any value.
Were returned?
To her mom.
Oh, to her mother?
Yeah,
Okay.
to the family, yes.
Do you feel like you're in a movie, sort of? I mean, isn't this bizarre?
Yes, absolutely. A horror movie, but just the same. It's got a wonderful ending with my new family, so I'm very blessed.
Did you ever think you'd be sitting here talking about this with the media?
No. After a certain point, but I knew that one person wasn't going to let it go, so there's always that possibility. So.
And Detective, you had mentioned that she had gone to a park, sat down, cried, met these homeless people.
Yes.
Which park was that?
She said it was near Park City Mall, so I'm not sure exactly which park, but near the mall.
Mr. Heist, what went through your head when you saw the pictures of her, these contemporary pictures? I mean, I assume you recognized her.
Instantly.
Yeah. And what'd you think?
Somebody had had a very difficult life.
Have you
That's-
spoken to her mother?
Yes.
What is she saying?
She's very happy with the results. I think that's the big answer, and then she spent most of the time talking to Detective Schofield after that. Once I did ask Detective Schofield if I could be the one to call her and let her know that her daughter was alive.
And you did that?
I did indeed.
What was that phone call like?
Wonderful. It was really good. I did a lot for her. Of course, at that point, there were just probably 1,000 questions, but I turned it over to the detective.
What town in Texas does she live in?
I honestly cannot tell you. I'm not sure. There are several of the family that live down there in different little communities. So.
And have you and your children, I mean, it kind of seems like maybe an inappropriate way to phrase it, but have you celebrated this? And I mean, this is far better than the news you would have feared, I guess, right?
We're just dealing with it right now.
Yeah.
The important thing, again, I just keep going back to, you got to understand, it's all about the kids. I'm an adult. I can deal with a lot of things, and it's more important that I'm not trying to protect them. They're strong. They've had to be strong to get this far along. So